Hello 10, Year 10. Nice to imagine you all in front of me again, all poised and ready for some more poetry. So here we go, here's your do now. Write down 3 quotations from In Paris With You, the last poem we did from memory. For at least one of these quotations, do a quotation explosion to explore language and structure devices. You know the drill now there, so that's 5 minutes to do that, and then on to the next slide. Our learning objective today is to read and analyse Warming Her Pearls by Carol Ann Duffy. The title to go into your books is Warming Her Pearls by Carol Ann Duffy. So you've got the title in. You're going to need a printout of the poem, which I will attach to Classcharts as usual, a pencil for your first thoughts and ideas, and some different coloured pens and highlighters. As ever, we look closely at the title first. Warming Her Pearls. What could we work out from the title? What do we associate with the words warming her pearls? Warmth connotes heat, but that could be in a sense of passion, but also comfort. The pearls might represent opulence, which is wealth, privilege, luxury, an expensive item of jewellery. What kind of tone are we expecting from a poem with this title? Who might be warming them for someone else? Consider what the relationship might be. 5 minutes on that, and then on to the next slide. Okay, here we are. Here's the first reading, so read along, and I recommend that you read out loud at some stage all these poems when we're studying them. As I said before, they really do come alive when you read them out loud. Poetry is meant to be read out loud. So here we are, Warming Her Pearls by Carol Ann Duffy. Next to my own skin, her pearls. My mistress bids me wear them, warm them, until evening when I'll brush her hair. At 6, I place them round her cool, white throat. All day I think of her, resting in the yellow room, contemplating silk or taffeta. Which gown tonight? She fans herself whilst I work willingly, my slow heat entering each pearl, slack on my neck, her rope. She's beautiful. I dream about her in my attic bed. Picture her dancing with tall men, puzzled by my faint, persistent scent beneath her French perfume, her milky stones. I dust her shoulders with a rabbit's foot, watch the soft blush seep through her skin like an indolent sigh. In her looking glass my red lips part as though I want to speak. Full moon. Her carriage brings her home. I see her every movement in my head. Undressing, taking off her jewels, her slim hand reaching for the case, slipping naked into bed, the way she always does. And I lie here awake, knowing the pearls are cooling even now in the room while my mistress sleeps. All night I feel their absence and I burn. There we are. So what is the mood of the poem? Who is speaking? Who are they speaking to? And how do they feel? Answer those 4 questions in full sentences, please. And, be brave. What do you think? What's your reaction to this, to those questions? And here are the notes after a first reading that you need to, you can sort of summarise these if you like, or you can just copy them into your books. The speaker in the poem is the maid. She's been asked to wear the pearls by her employer during the day, so the pearls look their best when the mistress wears them that evening. This would have been a common practice for a maid in Victorian or Edwardian Britain. Duffy wasn't alive during this time, so the voice here is a character. Remember I said that sometimes poets will take on characters like actors, not an autobiographical speaker, meaning the poem is a dramatic monologue. There's another term you can put in the glossary at the back of your books there, dramatic monologue. It's a type of poem, this type of poem. There is some ambiguity there is some double meaning about how the maid feels about her mistress. The 2 common interpretations are, 1, that the maid desires her mistress sexually, and 2, that the maid is jealous or resentful towards her mistress. Some people consider it to be a blend of the 2. She desires her and yet is jealous of her lifestyle. The references to heat have led some to suggest that the poems are not set in Britain, perhaps in a British colony like the Caribbean. When Britain had an empire, we had outposts all over the world, so this could have been in the Caribbean. This adds another potential dimension to the boundaries between the woman in addition to their class, race. It could, be that the woman is black who's wearing the pearls and that her mistress is white. Now we understand the speaker's situation and the tone of the poem, you need to read through it again, this time with pencil in hand to annotate your ideas. What can you pick out about how those feelings are presented? So find one piece of language and one piece of structure that shows the tone of this poem. And is there a regular rhyme scheme and meter? What are the topics of each stanza? Consider punctuation choices. 10 minutes on that. Make some notes, then on to the next slide. Right, this time I'm going to take you through the poem, mentioning key details you could annotate. On this third reading, you can add to your copy of the poem in pen, confirming your own pencil ideas and adding more to it too. So on top of your notes, you need to copy this into your books. The poem is a dramatic monologue, as we've already said, expressing the voice of the maid. Divided into 6 stanzas, we see the passing of a day, though not in strict chronological order. It's clear to see that the speaker is most concerned in the parts of the day when the 2 women are together. The poem has an irregular rhythm and frequent enjambment. Remember what that is? What is that, Houghton? Yes, you're quite right. It is when a line runs on and goes through to the next line without punctuation. This mirrors the maid's thought processes. She has thoughts and fantasies that are seemingly unstoppable throughout the day. The final line brings closure, making it clear that this fantasy is impossible. Right, annotation time. So the first half of the poem, the first stanza here, this poem begins in the morning, suggesting the intensity of her feelings. All day I think of her. It's desire and longing. And there's that next to my own skin, focuses on the senses, touch, implies a power divide and perhaps explains the longing for a better life. In stanza 2, silk or taffeta, they're rich materials again, focused on the senses. Which gown tonight suggests that she doesn't have to worry about anything else, perhaps desires her mistress's lifestyle. And implicate the words heat and fans, implication of slow heat, and there's connotations of passion. Heat and hot is to do with passion as well, as I'm sure you know. Slack on my neck. The pearls do not sit well on her. She's wearing her boss, if you like, pearls, but they are made for her mistress. Emphasises the distance between them. And importantly here, her rope is a metaphor for the control that the mistress has over the person who's wearing them, the maid. I dream about her. Infatuation and obsession. The enjambment here elongates the thought. Plosive, puzzled and persistent, a longing to be noticed by a mistress. It's very intimate. She will dance with men all night, but her mistress will always be carrying a part of her in her milky stones. Is this admiration or jealousy, or as we've already said, possibly a mixture of the two? So get those annotations onto your poems, please, Year 10. The second part of the last 3 stanzas, rather, up the top there. Soft blush. Watch the soft blush sheet through her skin. She pays very close attention to her mistress's actions. Indolent sigh. Indolent is a sort of luxurious type of sigh. In her looking glass, the maid wants to speak. Could her imagining her life as this prison or her life with this person? Her role is restricted. Full moon and carriage, fairy tale like motifs. These are fantasy connections, showing that what the maid wants is, probably a fantasy and very unlikely to come true. Voyeuristic, taking off her jewels. She's thinking, imagining her mistress. Voyeurism is when you watch someone from a distance doing something intimate, then they don't know you're watching. And again, we've got enjambment here at the end of the second to last stanza, where the line runs through into the next one. Reinforces the fact that this intimacy is imagined and it's not real. In their absence and I burn, the cooling purrs and the heat of desire I burn. There's a contrast there. The poem closes at night, showing a contrast from the beginning. Okay, as well as annotating each poem we read this term, we're going to make sure to capture the key ideas in our exercise books. So you must make some notes now. Your notes must include reference to the speaker and their feelings and their perspective, how they see things, at least 3 quotations. These are the 3 that you're going to memorise for next time. Put them onto cards as usual and put them in your revision folder. Some literary terminology, talk about the enjambment and the punctuation and similes and metaphors So on one point you can make about language, and one point you can make about structure, and you can consider the themes of this poem. Now, they are desire, longing, reflection, any others you think that this poem shows. 15 minutes to put those notes into your books, please, Year 10. And you're going to spend the last 5 minutes of the lesson making sure that you know the quotations you've chosen really well. Make sure you choose short, manageable ones. You should have a technique by which you're learning these now. So learn them, ready for next time, and make sure they're on flashcards in your revision folder. And once again, fantastic. The work I've been receiving has been of a very high standard, hugely impressed, so I've been rewarding that. So keep that coming, and I'll speak to you next time.